First up, will Boris Johnson become the next Prime Minister of Britain? Well, the Conservative Party will be naming the new Prime Minister today. Boris Johnson and Jeremy Hunt's fate lies in the hands of 160,000 members of the Conservative Party who have voted for their choice. Whoever wins the race will be taking office on Wednesday. Theresa May's successor will have the burden of steering Britain out of the European Union by October 31st. So far, Boris Johnson, who is a member of the parliament has been leading the race. In fact, most of the polls have predicted that he may have received 70% of the votes. Johnson has said that he will ensure Brexit takes place on October 31st with or without a deal. A few days ago, British Finance Minister Philip Hammond said that he would resign if Johnson becomes the Prime Minister. The current Foreign Secretary of the country, Jeremy Hunt, is the other person who was in the race. Hunt's views on Brexit are different. He says he wants to negotiate a credible Brexit plan. He says that Brexit will happen, but he is willing to get the deadline extended if need be. Hunt was once an opponent of the Brexit deal. Among the two, Hunt has held more cabinet positions than Boris Johnson. As Britain waits the announcement, several hundred protesters gathered outside 10 Downing Street to oppose Boris Johnson becoming the next Prime Minister of UK. The protest was organised by the left-wing group, the People's Assembly, and a few speakers. Diane Abbott, who was also part of the protests, said Johnson's thinking about the race would set the country back decades. Remember, May resigned after failing to get the Parliament's support for her Brexit deal 3 times, while her time leading the Tory party has ended after her resignation on June 7th. She will stay the Prime Minister until either Johnson or Hunt are chosen as her replacement. Our London Bureau Chief Mandy Clark is now joining us live for the latest on the countdown on who will be the next Prime Minister of UK. And Mandy, what does it look like? All bets on Boris Johnson, most likely.
Yeah, so even though he said as he entered the campaign room that it's all to play for, it looks all but wrapped up. Everyone thinks that Boris Johnson will be the next Prime Minister. We expect that announcement in just over an hour coming from the Conservative chairman. After that, we expect the new leader, likely Boris Johnson, to make a speech. Now, this speech will need to be a unifying speech. As you can see, he's very contested. Quite a few senior cabinet ministers have said they will resign. They refuse to work under Boris Johnson, and they will quit before they give him a chance to fire them. That includes Rory Stewart, who is one of the candidates who is running for leadership, as well as the Chancellor, Philip Hammond. So there is quite a few seniors who are already planning to make his life quite difficult. And that's the opposition he will be facing in his own cabinet if he wins. There's still an outside chance that Jeremy Hunt might win. But overall, most people think that Boris Johnson has it in the bag. Boris
Johnson has it in the bag. But Mandy, what about Jeremy Hunt? The fact is that he has held more cabinet positions. This is a man who started with not wanting the Brexit deal and has come a long way. He's also been more careful on what he has to offer if he were to become the Prime Minister, saying that we will negotiate the extension as well. So a very careful position there on Brexit.
He's definitely a far more cautious and careful politician, without a doubt. But there is a very large contingent of Brexiteers in the Conservative Party. And remember, this is not the public that's voting. It's the Conservative Party that's picking their new leader. And that overwhelming kind of pro-Brexit stance is what the party has. That's certainly the stance that Boris Johnson has portrayed. Of course, Hunt has seemed to have flip-flopped on his positions. So the party themselves were looking for a very firm person on Brexit, and that's why it seems that Jeremy Hunt hasn't got as much traction, even though he has been a career politician, definitely very diplomatic in a lot of his talk. But Boris Johnson is not so diplomatic. He has made quite a few gaffes in the past, but ultimately it looks like it was his stance on Brexit that gives him the edge at the moment.
Right. And Mandy, how is the population, how are voters viewing this? As you rightly pointed out, it's not the voters who are voting in the next Prime Minister, but it is through an internal process that this is happening. But when it comes to the people of UK, how do they view Boris Johnson?
Ooh, he's divisive. Is the best way to describe it. Over the weekend, there was a protest. It was no to Boris, yes to Europe. So a lot of Remainers feel like their whole voice has been drowned out by someone who is far right. He has made a series of gaffes in the past. His relationship with Iran has been quite contested when he was Foreign Secretary. So that is a worry among a lot of the British, especially at this time where the relations with Iran and the UK has gone into the deep freeze. His gaffe-prone behavior at times is a worry. So the people who support Brexit see him as optimistic and a fresh face with a lot of charisma. The people who don't like him see him as possibly dangerous and a mini version of Trump, which is to the far left, that's seen as a very negative thing.
Right, Mandy, thanks very much indeed for joining us with the latest there. We will keep coming back to you through the evening for the latest on this. Thanks for that.